We are coming upon the 50th anniversary of your escape from Tibet. And I wonder, as you reflect back 5 decades, what your emotions are as we come upon this date.
I think basically we lost our own home. That's unfortunate. But we found new home which provide us full liberty, freedom. And with freedom, all opportunities, the things which we want to do. And particularly the full support from Indian government right from the beginning. So therefore, as a refugee, as ourselves, very happy. And because mentally happy, you see, we can carry our sort of responsibility which given by Tibetan people inside Tibet now, who have no freedom at last now from 59, now nearly 50 years, then even before, in fact, around 1949 and 50, so nearly 60 years passed. Of course, in spite of some progress, some construction, and also within the period is sometimes more, I should say, difficult, sometimes comparatively a little better, but basically things are difficult. So in any way, when we think about inside Tibet, when we heard constantly news from Tibet, it is very sad, and particularly now since last March, 10th March, now very, very sad, very sad. Otherwise, okay.
What are you hearing about what has happened in Tibet in recent months?
I think, firstly, although this is a little bit long, although in 1950, the Chinese army, Liberation Army, already so-called liberated some, east part of the Tibetan territory, which under Tibetan government jurisdiction. The place called Chamdo, up to Chamdo. They already liberated. But then they, according to Deng Xiaoping's daughter's book, at that time, about, I think, 8,000 or 9,000 Tibetan soldiers killed. So in any way, the Tibetan government soldier, some small military sort of forces that were wiped out. So then, militarily speaking, the Chinese Liberation Army easily can reach Lhasa. But then, under leadership of Chairman Mao, you see, they prefer Tibet should be liberated through negotiation, through peaceful means. Although there is no longer any resistance now, military resistance, but then they prefer Tibet liberation should be through non-violent, through peaceful way. So 1951, 17-point agreement signed. Then till 1956, now for example, when Zhou Enlai came to Delhi, meet Indian Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru, and during Buddha Jayanti celebration, or 2,500 years, Buddha Saraswati anniversary, we also hear. So Zhou Enlai also you see me and also Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru. One occasion, I think, lunch together. So that time, Chinese Prime Minister told Indian Prime Minister, the Chinese government do not consider Tibet case as something like other sort of provinces. Tibet case, something very unique, a very special case. So some of the Chinese government at that time acknowledged there is sort of different, reality, the different culture, different sort of language, including different language. So there is sort of differences there. So unique things there. Now later, the Chinese leaders, especially hardliners sort of view, the more the identity of Tibetan, unique identity of Tibetan there, they see it is source of separation. So therefore, they deliberately trying to eliminate these unique Tibetan sort of identity or Tibetan spirit.
Some have called this cultural genocide.
Yes, I
use
to
that
call
phrase?
yes.
Some say it's just genocide straight out. Is it genocide?
I say like
or
this.
Cultural genocide?
I say whether intentionally or unintentionally, some kind of cultural genocide is taking place. Cultural genocide, that I usually call. That's before 10th March crisis. So about more than 10 years ago, one party secretary, his name Chen Kunyan, he told or expressed one party meeting, the ultimate source of threat, Tibet separate from China, is Tibetan Buddhist faith. So then accordingly, you see, they carry a certain policy which very much restriction about the Tibetan spirituality. I think now here is including banning Dalai Lama's picture, these things. And also and recently, the political education in monastery or nunneries, like that. So then after 10, so these are the reasons, it's a Tibetan resentment. The nomads, these people, may not know the political situation, but they simply know how much the harassment to their belief, to their faith. And also there is very much sort of also the deliberately sort of negligence about the Tibetan language, Tibetan script. I think 87 or I think 86, I think 86 or 87 now, I can't remember. The late Benjamin Lama there, and also then Mahabu, quite active at that time, now too old. So under the leadership of these two, you see, they made some decision regarding preservation of Tibetan language. But these, and recent decades, these changed. Now, I just heard, now last a few days, some sort of meeting, one big meeting of Tibetan autonomous region sort of establishment there. Now this time, they use Tibetan language at that meeting.
For the first time?
First time, I think. First time. I think that is, only, out of to show to rest of the world, they are sort of taking serious about Tibetan language. These are silly. That's just to say, like drama. So in any way, so since the 10th March tragedy, I think firstly, I think some people may notice, but many may not notice. Actually, demonstration started afternoon 10th March. Chinese never mentioned these things. Only 14th of March. That day, burnings. Only that day, burning shops and some sort of stoning, some bank or something like that. So actually, demonstration start as I mentioned earlier, 3 days ago. But that never mentioned. And then while burning these things, some Tibetans stoning these things, the Chinese not sending army or police, just let them carry and then take picture. So that shows extensively to the Chinese public as well as outside. So in any way, these are just I casually mentioned. The important thing is since 10th March, now at that time we very much hoped now Chinese leadership may see the reality, how much resentment in Tibetan mind. Not only autonomous region of Tibet, but also the outside, whole Tibetan area. I think something.
This light here.
Since the 10th March last year, or at that time, I really hoped, now Chinese government may realize how much resentment from Tibetan people, not only in autonomous region of Tibet, but also the other Tibetan area in 4 Chinese provinces, which we usually say 6 million Tibetan. That means including these Tibetan. So Chinese government may start more realistic approach dealing this crisis. But then, contrarily, unfortunately, the Chinese government is carried easiest sort of method: suppression, killing, torture, arrest. So I heard recently, some Tibetan, they say, now even the Tibetan who are working in police force and also various departments, more than 99%, very much now, as a day. Now, they are very much sort of against, as a result of, they actually saw the handling of the Chinese ruthlessness. So therefore, since now recently, I expressing, now Tibetan people, one ancient people, passing through something like death sentence. That means every community or people, their spirit is very important. If that spirit kill with their identity, culture, faith, kill, eliminate, that's detonation. So very, very sad, very sad. But of course, one hope is among the Chinese people, although there are many people, innocent people, because of distorted information and very, very sort of heavy sort of also censorship, the people, due to not knowing the reality, some emotions, they feel the Tibetans are anti-Chinese, something like that. But those knowledgeable Chinese, as far as I know, after 10th March crisis, more than 300 articles I heard, some I saw, wrote by Chinese scholars or intellectuals or writers, very, very positive, very sympathetic. So that's our hope. People is people. 1,000 years remain. The government leadership within a few years will change. So therefore, and then also, my view, the communist although the People's Republic of China now, same constitution, one-party system, a communist, but in reality, last 60 years, much changed. So this shows the leadership have the ability to act according to the new reality. So this is one sort of basis of our hope. So in any way, in spite of all these setbacks, our position is no change. Still fully committed middle-way approach, not seeking separation. Recently, some sort of difficulties, some sort of crisis or a lot of criticisms happened. So then, morally, I cannot remain as a sort of pretend that things going hopeful or okay. So I publicly accept failure of our approach. So
you are publicly accepting
yes,
failure for the middle way approach.
Oh, as far as one aspect of middle way approach, that is bring some positive change inside Tibet. That is concerned to fail. But on the other hand, is that our approach brings a lot of sympathy from Chinese public, or at least those Chinese who knows about the reality, very sympathetic, and many of them showing solidarity with us. And then also the outside world, including many government, is fully support our middle approach. So that is aspect of winning something. But one aspect, that's one very important thing, that's the improve inside Tibet. Now that is concerned to fail. So therefore, I ask people what to do, since this is the people's sort of concern. So finally, people should decide. Right from the beginning, when I made this proposal in Strasbourg, I think 1988, right from the beginning, I mentioned finally up to 20 people. So I thought now time has come to ask people. Then the serious discussion took place here. Then about six days serious discussion. Then finally, the majority of them genuinely endorsed our existing position. So we are fully now remain with that approach. So that's the up-to-date sort of situation. Of course, situation inside Tibet is very, very sad. And then one serious concern is ecology of Tibet. Because the high altitude and dry climate, so the environment or ecology, the situation in such condition is more delicate. So recently I met some scientist, one Irish scientist about ecology. He mentioned, and also I think basis on some articles even wrote by some Chinese the ecologist. He mentioned to me, surprisingly I heard this first time, he mentioned North Pole, South Pole, then Third Pole. Third Pole means Tibet. Tibet Plateau, big area, and the major rivers. You see, the ultimate source is related with Tibetan sort of plateau, sort of ice or snow like that. So almost as North Pole, effect or global warming from North Pole, similar Tibet also. So they mentioned Tibet as a third pole. Now, the global warming every year, 1 year, 0.1, according to him. Then Tibet case, Tibet Plateau, 0.3, much quicker, much faster. So then he mentioned, or he predicted, if present situation go like this, then within 15-20 years, some of the major rivers eventually will dry. That means from Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, many Indochina, many countries in Indochina, and also mainland China, major rivers cover all these areas. So I think the over billion human beings, their life depends on these rivers. So it is a very serious matter, very, very serious matter. The Chinese government should take more seriously about the protection, full protection of ecology in Tibetan Plateau, because their own sort of future very much related with that. And India as well, and these neighboring states.
Let me show you. I came upon this photograph today of you in Tibet. And you can see
Chen Yi,
Chinese official,
foreign minister Chen Yi.
And there you are.
Very open-minded. Very, I think, genuine communist. Very scientific-minded, realistic. Wonderful. Actually, this is 1956. The day or the occasion we open the preparatory committee of Tibet Autonomous Region.
When you look at these images, when you look at this picture and you see yourself, you're just in your 20s, you're very young here, and you look back at this and you think now, as you've just said to us, that your people are now facing, as you say, all these years later, a death sentence. Do you, Your Holiness, have regrets about your decisions between then and now?
No regret, no regret. But these are the unfortunate things, not due to our mistake. If our mistake, then regret will come. No. I think all these destructive sort of policy happen, as I mentioned before, early 50s, Chinese government policy, realistic.
What has your position of nonviolence, what has your position of nonviolence really brought you, your people?
Yes, first let me finish my sentence. Mid-50s, that was 1956, 57, then the whole policy became leftist. That is the, I think from the Chinese viewpoint, maybe that's the regrettable. Then 59 crisis happened, the Cultural Revolution happened, all these sort of destructions took place, and then even in recent decades inside Tibet, more hardliner, where their thinking is more leftist. Whenever party secretary, more leftist view comes, things become more harder, and that creates much more sort of the resentment among Tibetans. So now, your question about the nonviolent principle, about nonviolent sort of approach. Through these sort of decades, I feel more confidence. Early 50s, then of course Tibetan army, there are some violence, of course, involved. At that time, the political responsibility, temporal responsibility, not on my shoulder. Then, soon after I take this responsibility, then 7-point agreement is signed, 51, May 51. Then 56 on, some open revolt started from eastern part of Tibet, from Kham area. outside autonomous region of Tibet. Now that eventually spread more area, 57. 56 I came to India, then 57 I returned, in spite some suggestions within Tibetan community, Tibetan officials, I should not return, but I returned with hope things will be, and then Chuale also promised reform 6 years postponed. Immediate cause of this uprising in Sichuan province, then and Xinjiang province, or what to say, Xikang province at that time. Later, is that absorbed into Sichuan province. So at that time, Xikang province and Gansu province, then I think Qinghai province, like that. So, so these we very much hoped the Chuanle's promise as a reform 6 years postponed. That decision made by Chairman Mo himself. So these give us hope. Now things now may cool down, and manner sort of these violence now no longer. That's our hope, and we try our best. But then instead of, you see, they're stopping these things increasing. So all these, whenever you see some sort of resentment with violence, difficult. No.
But this...
After done the march, I received information. Afternoon, done the march. Now, you see some people, some Tibetan in Lhasa, now moving demonstration. Then immediately I felt, oh, now crash, sooner or later crash will take place. So after that, same sort of anxiety, same sort of disturbances, emotionally also, which I experienced in 1959 10th March. But then fortunately, the one level of emotion, much disturbances, and strong feeling of hopelessness, I can't help. I know suffering, but I can do anything. But the deeper level of my emotion, quite okay, quite peaceful.
That's good.
So
back to our question, which was about nonviolence.
So therefore, I mean these sort of events, actually I feel more confirmation our non-violent approach is the best way.
Why? When?
Why?
When your people, you said just now, are facing destruction. When you say today there's oppression, there is torture in your homeland of Tibet. What has nonviolence brought you?
This very room, I think almost 30 years ago, even more than, Mustang in Nepal, some Tibetan guerrillas with help of CIA. At that time, there is some Tibetan youth. They very much sort of attracted about violence. So then this very room, they asked me, they expressed in their sort of view. And I asked them, it's okay. If we follow a violent way, then we need weapon. From where we get weapon? And they say, or Pakistan, or Kashmir area, or this area. Okay. Then money, to buy these weapons. And later, is Afghanistan also they mentioned. Then, yes, okay. And money, from where we get money to buy these weapons? Just, of course, 10 guns is nothing. We need substantial sort of weapons. Even if we get substantial weapons, then how to send to Tibet? Through India, impossible. Through Nepal, impossible.
Are you saying it's not practical?
Yes. And also, most important is, we have to live side by side with Chinese people. If Tibetan involve bloodshed from Chinese body, how they sort of pain their emotion. That's very bad for long run sort of relation. Look, India is sort of course, the independence or the freedom movement, non-violent way. As a result, India's relation with other Commonwealth and also the Britain, very well. Although in the past, some cases, some violence took place, but basically under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi, through a non-violent way.
But it has not worked
So
yet.
the Tibetan case also, in any way, Tibetan, even I think a few 100,000 Tibetan armed, how can challenge millions of liberation army? These are impossible, morally wrong, practically also wrong. Then most important for long future. And then also we generally, basically we are Buddhist community. If we implement violence, although theoretically as a violent as an action not so important, important is motivation, compassionate motivation, and right sort of goal. However, once we involve violence, unpredictable. One of the aspects of violence is unpredictable. If you involve violence, then unexpected consequences also happen. Now, many parts of the world, including the United States sort of policy, it happened like that. So then, like the United States, a very powerful nation, handling Iraqi, Afghanistan, use military forces, not very successful. And our case, 6 million Tibetan. And then the Liberation Army, I think more than 2 millions with modern weapon. These things, although fortunately, even Tibetan youth organization, they fully support about our non-violent approach. Some individual, when they too much emotion, they simply, express, oh, look, Mujahideen. but Mujahideen sort of violence never bring moral support to the rest of the world. And they become more isolated. So because we strictly following non-violent principle, so many parts of the world really, I say, fully support. One reason, some is my friend in Europe, actually openly told me, you are committing non-violent very strictly, therefore we are supporting you. If you commit violence, we will withdraw our support. That's clear. And use violence, no room of reason. Non-violence there is always room of reason. Our strength is truth. Truth always, they have the reasons. No truth, lie. After all, no strength. So, if you are telling lie, not sort of truthful, then there is no other choice except use violence, use force. There is no way to argue, no way to reasoning.
Is China telling a lie?
You should judge. I think one regrettable thing is Chinese lies to outside world. It's understandable. But Chinese government lie to their own people. It's immoral, I feel. The censorship. The free world's information, Chinese cannot censor. But censorship means fool their own people. Their own people put in dark. It is morally wrong. Transparency is very, very important. So our side, everything transparent. Nothing to hide. All these, because we have truth. I always telling our supporters, I do not consider as a pro-Tibetan, but rather pro-justice. Since our issue, and also the way handling our issue, truthful, honesty, non-violent, peaceful, with compassionate attitude.
But when for the Tibetan people, will your policy of nonviolence
I don't know.
reap them rewards? You don't know.
That's difficult to say. But I feel, many of us feel only a matter of time. The truthful sort of approach through non-violent way and growing number support from Chinese community is a positive sign. Only question of time. Otherwise, mutually agreeable solution definitely will achieve. And our approach, middle way means one side victory, one side defeat, not that. In any case, the present sort of crisis of Tibet and some other sort of crisis within China is neither good for local concerned people and the Chinese government and Chinese people as a whole, particularly the Hu Jintao, present president. He emphasizes importance of promotion of harmonious society. It's very scientific and it is very important. But then the way, proper way to bring harmony, not by gun, silenced all sort of different views by gun, it's mistake. It's counterproductive. Compromise, listen others' view, and approach realistic way. That is the way to promote harmony, harmonious society. Whether there's different so-called the ethnic groups or different national sort of groups. I mean, different what are called different ethnic groups. Or different provinces, and even within the family. Harmony, very important. But harmony, unity, harmony, very important. These things completely based on trust. Gun brings fear. Trust and fear cannot go together. So therefore, you see, their policy using force and telling lie. It's the very basis of harmony, the trust, equality, destroying. Very sad.
Do you think it's possible you will not live to see the day?
Now, nearly 74, another 10 years, 84, then another 20 years, 94. I think possible. See the result of our approach. I feel like that. But in any way, in any case, right from the beginning, we are sort of preparing, or we are thinking, hope for the best. At the same time, prepare for the worst. That's our slogan. So in early 60s, many Tibetans, perhaps including myself, or it may not take such a long period. At that time, nobody think it may take 50, 60 years. Now already 50 years passed. But from that time, we prepared for worst. So we established quite well in this country and also different free world.
You have had 8 rounds of talks since 2002.
Yes.
Where are things now, and what are you offering the Chinese to move this forward?
Now, actually, the concept of not seeking truth, not seeking independence, genuine autonomy, that made up in this room, 1974, with our sort of leaders, few people. We decided sooner or later we have to talk with the Chinese government. So at that time, China fully engaged Cultural Revolution, 74. Then 70, end of 78, some indication from Deng Xiaoping, and then to my elder brother who resides in Hong Kong, want to see him. And my brother come to see me and ask about that. Then I responded immediately, yes, very good. Go there, meet Chinese leaders, because we already set up in our mind, not seeking independence, but meaningful autonomy. And also including the other Tibetan area, because we are not seeking separation. Our topmost concern is preservation of our culture, our spirituality, and including language. All these Tibetan area, same language, of course different dialect, but same language, same sort of cultural heritage, and same Buddhist faith. So morally, we cannot neglect the rest of Tibetan, about 4 millions. And autonomous is not Tibet, only 2 millions. So then we start direct contact with the Chinese government. Then a few fact-finding delegation we sent with full support from the central government. That's the beginning of direct contact with Tibetan people inside Tibet and small, about 100,000 Tibetan community outside Tibet at that time. So then early 80s, when Hui Yampang there, real hopes, they say, come. But then soon, and at that time, 83, I publicly expressed, now I want to go to Tibet to see the reality. And for that reason, I want to send a delegation, 84, mainly for preparation, because I do not want my visit, my presence inside Tibet should not, get some kind of chaos. So say, my first delegation reached some Tibetan area. The emotional spontaneous emotional expression, Tibetan people, some chaos take place. So I do not want that kind of thing. So I want to send a delegation, make full preparation, and educate local Tibetan. When next year, that means 85, next year Dalai Lama come, you must be cool, calm. But then that delegation did not materialize. Chinese government not agree, allow. Then soon, Huyama himself, then disgraced, as the democratic movement started from Chinese university. So then our dialogue with Chinese government become difficult, but still continue some contact. Later contact Chinese embassy in New Delhi, till 1993. Then that contact also ceased. Then again, at that time also, I think 95, 96, I asked people, now what to do? Then majority of them, they concluded, now I should judge. Dalai Lama have this sort of vision, best for judge according to circumstances. So then we continue the middle wave approach. Then fortunately, with some help from some Chinese some businessmen, then 2002, we renewed direct contact with the Chinese government. Then, as you mentioned, 8 round table talks took place. From first, second, third, some hope, at least building confidence. Then, now I can't remember the detail.
There was a lot of hope during the Olympics that they would be held.
Then, I think, fifth meeting, the Chinese, some individual official actually acknowledged. Now it is clear Dalai Lama side not seeking separation. So when our representative returned, when they report that, then we felt, oh, now that's achievement. At least now get some sort of clearer understanding. But then soon after, inside Tibet, they intensified accusation to me as a spiritist. So then, 6th meeting, very hard attitude. They simply dismissed this issue of Tibet. Only issue is Dalai Lama. Now for that, early 80, 5-point proposal come from Chinese leader. All point about my return and sort of my future status, these things. And I once to reply to them, this is not issue. Issue is Tibetan people. Once the Chinese government address the real issue, then my return automatically come. So again, the 6th meeting, they refuse. They did not dismiss there is problem of Tibet. Then the crisis, 10th March crisis. At that time, the Chinese, from initiation, from Chinese side, we hurriedly arranged one so-called informal meeting. That meeting, unusually, Chinese government announced that meeting will take place. And President Hu Jintao himself admitted that meeting, acknowledged that meeting. And before his visit to Japan, I think some Japanese correspondent, as a response to the Chinese, Japanese media people, he acknowledged that meeting, and also he showed some seriousness. So at that time, we, as I mentioned before, we very much hoped. Then that informal meeting fixed the 7th meeting. And the 7th meeting, very harsh. But they mentioned all your sort of, the proposal should made on paper and bring us. So 8th meeting as a follow-up of the 7th meeting. And the detailed proposal is handed to them. Then within days, they totally reject all these points. So now that's up to date.
So where are you?
Where are you?
Stalemate?
Now nowhere.
Nowhere.
Something like that. But our side, no change, in spite of all these sort of setback and also criticism and a very, very sort of sad situation inside Tibet. In spite of that, our commitment, no change. Wait now. Now up to them, like that.
Now it's up to them.
Then meantime, also, since 2001, we already have elected political leadership. Professor Santoro Mche, now elected. So since then, I call him as my boss, political field. Spiritual field, maybe I'm his boss. But the temporal, the political sort of field, the final decision is in his hand, not my hand. We're really proud. As far as the democratic practice is concerned, we much advanced small community here. Like that. So the Chinese sort of, this totally lie. They say our basic aim of this struggle is restoration of old system. Totally lie.
What is the truth?
What's truth? I think the world knows we fully implementing democracy. And then 92, I think as early as 69, my official statement, I stated the very institution of Dalai Lama should continue or not up to Tibetan people.
It's up to the people.
Yes. If majority of Tibetan people feel century-old Dalai Lama institution is no longer relevant, then institution will cease. No problem. It's not my concern. Then 92, another my official sort of statement, I stated, when they come of our return with certain degree of freedom, then I will hand it over all my legitimate authority, or Dalai Lama's legitimate authority, to hand it over to local government. That local government, hopefully, more democratic government. Then that day come, Exile the organization, administration, automatically dissolved. We have no right to ask some kind of authority or some kind of privilege. No, we have no right. So at that time, 92, I made clear that all responsibility should carry continuously by Tibetan inside Tibet who already have some experience like that. We have no intention, no right to demand some sort of right or some privilege like that. So now we, till that day come, our administration here, it's important to look after not only Tibetan refugee community, but carrying spirit of Tibetan people, Tibetan identity, Tibetan culture. So, and also me personally, since you see our elected political leadership have the final sort of authority to to decide to carry this policy. So if you want more detail, then ask him. Then, now last, I think almost 40 years after I came, next 10 years, I just learning or study. Then gradually more wider contact with people, and also 73, my first visit to Europe. Then at that time I consider myself as a citizen of the world. Basically, I'm one of the 6 billion human beings, same human being. My fundamental belief, each of us should develop some concern of the rest of the world, because our future, individual future, depends on them. We are a social animal. And particularly today's world, heavily interdependent. That's a new reality. In ancient time, this is each more or less independent. So with that reality, concept of war, destruction of your enemy is victory of yourself. Now no longer these things. So therefore, my 2 commitments. Number 1 commitment is promotion of human value and non-violence. The second, my commitment is promotion of religious harmony. So these 2, nowadays, since last now, I think it's 30 years, wherever I go, I always touch these 2 things. So that's my personal sort of contribution. And also I usually is telling my Indian friend, these are Indian tradition. Non-violence, ahimsa, non-violence. It's century-old India's culture heritage. Although sometimes some violence took place, but basically Mahatma Gandhi's sort of ahimsa or non-violence is simply he carried the century-old India sort of concept of non-violence. He implemented in modern freedom struggle, political field. He implemented that. And then religious harmony, also century-old India's tradition. So I usually describe, I'm acting like a messenger of ancient India's thought. When I saw Nalanda University institution, great masters, a few centuries remained that institution, the topmost sort of what's the important academic, Buddhist academic sort of center. But now, completely ruined. That's the reality of impermanence. After, say, 1,000 years or 10,000 years, I think many area with people too much grasping, oh, this is my place, this is something. Those, you see, big Maharaja or big kings of ancient India, when they built, you see, their castles or these things, they felt, oh, 1,000 years may remain. Foolish. The Berlin Wall, they built that at least a few centuries.
It's gone.
That's the law of impermanence. So these actually, I think, widened our vision or our concept. If you look very narrowly, concentrate just one issue, then that becomes difficult. Then really you feel desperate. But your mind widened. Then of course that's sad, but okay. Now for example, at this moment, economic crisis. I think those people, I'm quite sure, those people who totally rely meaning of their life on money matter, I think much turbulence in their mind. those individuals who consider money important, but not the meaning of, not whole meaning of life. No, other values there. Then those people, I think their mental state much calmer. So that's make differences.
Well, what do you say to people who've lost their homes, who've lost their jobs, who've lost their courage worldwide because of this economic crisis? What is it that they should have in their minds?
Very, very sad, and particularly in China. Now, millions of Chinese workers who once they really happy, join happily, come from rural area, then get more earning, more incomes. They are very happy, and their money can support their own farmland. Now they really totally lost. Very, very sad, very sad. But what to do?
What is it that they should have in their minds to steel them, to strengthen them? Because even though you can talk about the impermanence of everything, there's still the matter of human suffering.
No, realistic. Should think realistic. It happened. Cannot escape. Better to accept. But meantime, should not discourage. There's Tibetan saying, 9-time failure must bring 9-time effort.
You meet the struggle.
Things become difficult, become hopeless. Should not lose your hope, or should not lose your self-confidence. That's important. Again, try, again try, again try. That's important.
Find your strength.
Now, Chinese case, one difficulty is no freedom. That's the problem. And the centralized power, sometimes some benefit, some advantage, but some area, I think disadvantage. Whereas United States, free country, each individual have some sort of opportunity or some sort of ability to tackle this problem. I don't know. Even in democratic free country also, now this big company, right from the beginning, make transparent. I think maybe less shock.
You mean the big companies that are going south, not doing well? You mean the financial crisis?
Yes. I think they are hypocritic way. Although you see things going difficult, but they never tell truth. Once you see things become really desperate, then become clear, not much of the shock to many people. So, I am not an economist. I do not know. My knowledge in the economy field, zero. Sometimes I ask my friend, some businessman, I ask, I do not understand the market force. Actually, is man's creation. But sometimes they say market force is something beyond human control. So I do not understand what's that. And these crises, I ask. Then some of them usually told me one major factor is too much speculation without knowing because of the definite, just speculation, out of fear, out of greed. Then here, fear, greed, major factor of this crisis. I think that's true. So out of fear and telling lie, and not make it clear, transparent. Like that.
It then will shift back. People must learn that this doesn't work. Greed and fear don't work. There's a lesson that comes from this, when you realize that greed and fear don't work. So
many years ago, I think at least 20 years ago, one occasion in Japan, or maybe 10 or 15 years ago, one occasion in Japan, I told them, then the Japanese economic crisis not yet start. I express, you should not take for granted this sort of every year you see increasing on their money. So there's no guarantee. So you should think there's limitation. Then exactly after a few years, after some time, then there are economic crisis. So at that time, some my friend told me, oh, you mentioned that. It is much better to keep in our mind this kind of prosperity, not permanent. Some problems bound to happen. Then the actual sort of trouble started much better, faced it. Like death. If you accept that is part of our life, sooner or later it will come. Then actual death comes, okay.
It's not a surprise.
Oh. If you just avoid thinking about death, then actual death comes, your mind, emotion, not prepared.
Are you prepared?
Oh, prepared, yes. As a Buddhist practitioner, the Buddhist is the first teaching, impermanence. It's useful.
So, do you care what people will say about you when you die?
Oh, yes. If today I died, I expired, then I think quite serious setback. Recently, when news comes, Dalai Lama went to hospitalized, and some serious illness, and many Tibetans, outside as well as inside, they very much shocked, and some even refused to eat meals. They also die together with me. One abbot here in South India, one very good scholar. As soon as he got somewhere, he got some medical treatment, he himself. So as soon as he got the news, Dalai Lama now ill and very serious illness, then he stopped eating meal. He wanted to die. And only after, I think after a few days, when another news come, or Dalai Lama now already will take sort of operation, then come out, then he start taking meal.
Why do you laugh?
Huh?
Why do you laugh about that?
I don't know. Too much emotion, too much faith. So that means, you see, they are very much sort of relying on me. So some setback, but then, as a people, one ancient nation, Tibetan, according to archaeological finding, the 6,000, 10,000 year old sort of human community, and some area, according to some sort of archaeological finding, even 30 years, 30,000. And the nation or community who have our own independent language, script, quite rich. And as far as Buddhism is concerned, most advanced, complete form of Buddhism. Then the way to carry preservation of this Buddhist philosophy through rigorous study. My own case, I'm Dalai Lama. Usually the Tibetan consider me as a reincarnation of some sort of higher being. But when they carry also the lesson to me, they treated me as a ordinary naughty boy. So my tutor always keep one week for punishment of the Dalai Lama.
I didn't know that. You got spanked. You were spanked as a naughty boy.
For that time, my elder brother and myself studied together. So 2 whips, one yellow whip. That suppose yellow means more holy. So holy whip for holy student. That's the Dalai Lama. Another ordinary sort of whip. That's my elder brother. But I really doubt if the holy whip used to holy student. I think pain. I don't think any sort of differences of holy pain. So at that time, poor my elder brother, few occasion, you see, suffer with that whip. I think my tutor, quite clever, said to give warning to this young stupid Dalai Lama and some punishment for my elder brother.
Oh, so he had to have more whips than you.
So we study quite rigorously. So these, another way, bring self-confidence. And Chinese people also very proud people. As like the Tibetan, also very, very proud people. So basically, they never rely their future on just one person.
But a lot of people rely on you. As you just said, this man tried to stop eating, this very, very scholarly man. You know, there are many people, you have said that you could be the last Dalai Lama. There are many people who do not want to accept that this could happen. Why do you accept that you could be the last Dalai Lama when it would hurt so many people if you are?
Also, I mentioned if they want to keep this sort of institution, then it's up to them. And then next question is how to select the next sort of successor. So these things, many occasions I sort of express, and I made sort of option of different possibility.
Has he not already been selected?
No.
Wasn't there a boy who was selected?
No. I always telling people, no hurry.
No hurry.
No hurry.
You'll be reincarnated at some point, right?
After 20, 30 years, then I think this work then have to start. I don't know.
Well, if you're not reincarnated as a Dalai Lama, what would you be reincarnated as?
Myself, I don't know. One thing quite sure, of course, as a believer of rebirth, one of my favorite sort of prayer is, so long space remain, so long sentient being remain there, and sentient beings' pains or problem remain there, I will remain in order to some sort of serve, some service. Like
so you'll be in some service.
Yes.
Whether it's the Dalai Lama or something else.
Yes. Even, you see, the concept of a different sort of life, and including hell. If you see, there is some possibility to help some other sentient being in hell, I'm ready. I'm willing. Go there to help, to serve. That's my sort of, obviously, my prayer and my practice. So, but the reincarnation, not necessarily same being. So, the same institution, of course, a different body, sometimes one person, one being, but different life and different body. Some cases, not only different body, but also the mind or the being itself is different, but come as, so let's say, his or her place, like that. So these are complicated sort of, let's say, concept or philosophy.
Just one last question. That is, we've just come from the inauguration of the new American president, Barack Obama, and I was wondering if you have an impression of this new president, whether or not he is, do you believe he is the right president for the world at this time? What sort of president do you believe the world needs at this time?
Of course, I know him as a senator. A few years ago, I met in Washington and Capitol Hill. And then recent months, or last year, one time he telephoned me, and then also some corresponding with him. And then, of course, his sort of way of his expression, these things, seems very straightforward. The former President Bush also, personally, and as a human being, very straightforward. But his policy is something different. But he, as a person, I love him. The new president also, you see, as a human being, he seems, I think, very straightforward. And one thing I noticed when election almost to finalize him, on one occasion I was in Pune, one Indian city. There are some Gandhian, sort of international Gandhian sort of meeting. At that meeting, many old Gandhians, Indian Gandhian, you see, they very much sort of praising about Obama's sort of candidate, and he's sort of winning. Then some of them you see, express his winning is not only, I mean, he is not only American sort of, what's the elected, I mean, president. He is something very, very important for India and the rest of the world. So then I noticed, you see, here also, you see, many people, and the older people, Gandhian, say, sort of showing much sort of what's the interest or concern and expressing respect. So that's impressive. Then also his visit Berlin. I think over 200,000 Germans welcome him. These are, I think maybe one new sort of reality. American president. And of course the America, as the only champion, or only what's the superpower, and also a nation, basically the champion of liberty, democracy, freedom, these things. So American people very much cherishing these things. Then in recent years, sometimes American policy not go well. These ancient, what's it, your ancestors or was principle. So many occasions in Washington when I met some of my friend, one occasion I expressed, I'm not necessarily admiring your nuclear weapons, but I admire your sort of principles, democracy, liberty, freedom, these things. As a superpower, I think in whole your policy, I think must carry with these principles. Then American can make a more effective contribution for better world.